crazy shit.
What'd you say, man?
We're on video now. Technical difficulties aside.
You pixelate my face.
Roadcaster, holla at your boy. I've got a fix for you guys, but it ain't gonna come free. All right, I'm not gonna fill out the form and tell you about it. You got to come to me to get it fixed. Actually, please get this shit fixed. This is really annoying. I got my Liquid Death. I got it in the Duff beer koozie for our boy in honor of our boy. Do you got one of these koozies?
Duff man.
I don't have that one, but I do have this one.
Man, get out of here, bro. You call yourself a collector? You ain't got a
Come
koozie?
on, man.
You don't got a $7 koozie? Nah, actually, that's pretty nice.
Well, this
got
is
a
like a
little cape on
$20
it? That's
koozie,
awesome.
so come on.
You're right,
Igloo made it.
I got the Liquid Death for the record. I seen Ashley drink one of these in the last time we recorded. And then Warren really got me hooked onto them. Shout out to Publix.
mango.
Got that mango chainsaw, I see.
Mango chainsaw.
I brought Publix had them BOGO, so I brought 2 big ass boxes. Each one of them weighing 50 pounds. They're like tall boys, so they're heavy as hell. Life was like, who got you into this? Which one of your sick, twisted friends got you into this bullshit?
And she loves them, doesn't she?
Actually, she has not. She refuses to try one. She's not really into like seltzer waters, but I've been annoying the hell out of her every chance I get. I'm like, baby, hand me a Liquid Death.
She's like, that's too metal for me, Badr. Please get that away from me. I don't like the way that looks.
Too hardcore. All right, gents, y'all ready to get this show started?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it, baby.
Let's go ahead and bring in the intro music on the podcast version. And then I'll get us started. Let me take one more unsponsored but soon to be sponsored swig of Liquid Death.
People get sponsored by them fairly. I mean, you could probably try. Might not be that hard.
I'm trying to, Warren. I'm gonna try one.
We got to do the regular podcast, like some Magic Spoon, some mattress companies.
Definitely
for sure.
Viagra, whatever the hell.
Oh,
yeah, we'll take anything. All right,
the Blue Chew.
Yeah, Blue Chew. That's what it is.
Yeah. All right, here we
We
go.
can sell some boner pills. I'm not above that.
All right, here we go. Yo, Short Box Nation. Welcome back, y'all. I always love knowing that, we got our loyal Short Box Nation folks tuning in. And of course, I want a big shout out to the new listeners joining for the first time. Welcome to Short Box Podcast, the best comic podcast this side of the multiverse, all right? This is episode 365, and my name is Badr Milligan. And today, the crew and I, that's right, I got the crew with me, all right? It's a small crew, but damn mighty crew, if I do say so myself. I'll introduce them here in a second. Unless you're watching on YouTube and there, you see the crew I'm with. But I'll introduce them here shortly. Today, the crew and I are catching up on comic news and announcements from San Diego Comic-Con 2022, a.k.a. MCU Phase 5 and 6 announcements a lot of MCU news. But there was a lot that came out this past weekend. And while we won't touch on everything, because, we'd need a whole podcast just for that, we will touch on the stuff and the announcements and news that might have gone under the radar and announcements that we're personally excited for. So if you're looking for a particular topic, I would recommend that you check out the show notes for timestamps. I'll have all of those listed, and you might find something in particular you're looking for. But before we get into any of that, allow me to introduce the rest of the squad with me here today. In the studio with me is Edmund Danzar, a.k.a. the Edbot 5000. What up, Ed?
What's up?
Go. And calling in as a special guest this episode and basically rounding out the whole squad is a special guest. He's the world's leading expert on spending all your money on Simpsons memorabilia. You may know him from his Instagram at Bart of Darkness, at Bart of Darkness, or from his hyper successful Simpsons podcast, Simpsons is Greater Than. We got Warren Evans back with us today, ladies and gents. Warren, what up? What up, Warren?
Oh, what's going on, man? And I want to say the check did clear, so I'm happy to be here today.
Oh,
yo,
you got a check?
All $20,
Wait
baby.
a minute.
It's all $20.
Badr was like, Warren, I really need you to fill in. I've got some extra money. I'll send a check over pronto. So I was like, all right, let's do it. It's awesome to be back, man. I love hanging out with you in real life or on a podcast, and this is the first time I've been with Ed. So I feel like this is a special day.
It is special.
Wow, yeah, you're right.
It's been keeping us apart, Warren.
He's afraid we would like each other too much. I mean, that's all.
You know what? Because Warren has this uncanny ability to a friend leech. He just like latches on to the friends you meet, and now they're best friends.
He's a friend stealer.
Yeah, he did that. He did that with Cesar. He almost did that with Ashley. But Ashley hold it down for your boy, right? But yeah, I'm excited.
Badr, have you
too.
Considered that maybe I'm just that much more likable?
Wow.
I mean, the chances are very slim, but it's crossed my mind. It's crossed my mind. But speaking of Ashley and our comrades that couldn't be here, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Cesar Cordero, of course, and then of course the First Lady of the Short Box. Even though she couldn't be here with us today, I want to dedicate a round of applause to the First Lady of the Short Box, our girl Ashley. She's not only the world's most humble published comic artist you'll ever meet, but very soon she'll be a future contender for the world's #1 Mom Award. All right? Big shout outs to Ashley. It's kind of loud, very loud.
Yeah. Not that much.
Yeah,
Turn it down. There,
much.
okay.
Okay. All right, but anyways, earlier this month, our girl Ashley announced that she and her husband are expecting their first child early next year. Next month would be pretty wild. So I want to formally congratulate them here on the show. And if you follow Ashley on social media, go ahead and show her some love, right? Congratulate her on that.
I want to say when I first saw that, I didn't know that was a birth announcement. I saw Sandor. It's like, season 5's in January? Sweet. She really loves Stranger Things. And I didn't notice the little kid shoes or the little onesie. I thought it was just like she's like stoked that season 5's coming out so soon.
Yeah, it's like, wait,
these kids are in college already? Like, we need to wrap this up.
Is Sandor giving birth? Yeah, I thought Ashley got her own sponsorship. I was like, damn, Ashley out here making moves.
Netflix deal.
Damn. Yeah, so big shout outs to Ashley. And since we're on introductions, and let's be honest, most of you tuning in are enjoying this show for free. I think it's only fair that I get to plug the Patreon and the YouTube really quick, all right? We've got the video version of this podcast up on YouTube. You can watch the behind-the-scenes recording to see the full unedited version of this conversation. So if you like behind-the-scenes stuff or watching your podcast on YouTube, that's for you, all right?
Did you record the technical difficulties?
No, I did not record the technical difficulties. That's not very riveting. Me being flustered and becoming extremely nervous is not
listening
riveting.
to the Micro Machine Man in tech support.
That's not riveting stuff, right? But we've been posting a lot more content on our YouTube that coincide with the podcast, so make sure you're subscribed to the Short Box Podcast on YouTube, all right? And if you really want to show your support for the Short Box Nation, you can join our premier Patreon community and be counted among the Short Box elite. All right, look, there's no secret about it. Our favorite listeners happen to be the ones that pay us. Okay, this requires a lot of time and effort, and we love our Short Box Patreon community because they also have a big say, and they're a big part of the show. They have a say in the show in the sense of they pick out the topics that we discuss, and they also help us pay the bills so we can focus on making great content. All right, you can become a member of our Patreon community yourself at patreon.com/theshortbox, or just click the link in the show notes. All right, as my guy from the Everest commercials used to say, it's easy.
Why are you making it complicated? It's easy.
All right, it's easy, it's affordable, and you get a bunch of. Look, Warren, I told you the Rodecaster 2 Pro. I mean, I get to do stuff like that with it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. I like that. Let's kick it up a notch.
Yeah. So once again, the Patreon, it's affordable. You get a bunch of rewards, and you get a bunch of rewards in return. And you don't even have to take my word for it, because we have a member of our Patreon community right here, and that's our guy Warren.
Whoa.
Warren, on a scale, as a longtime member of the Patreon community, I want to hear it from you. All right, disregard the fact that I slipped you a 20 to go ahead and say this next line. On a scale of 1 to 10, all right, 1 being absolutely worth it, and 10 being absolutely worth it.
Wow.
How worthwhile is it being a part of the Patreon community?
I'm gonna I'm looking down to double check the amount, but I'm gonna say a 10 because if there's one thing I will say for Badr, I give him a hard time. My man busts his ass. The whole crew does to make good content and push out these extra episodes, and Badr's out here making reels and stuff. He's like really pushing this content, making sure that he finds an audience that for all kinds of topics. So I'm gonna give it a solid 10. How was that, Badr?
I appreciate it.
Is that what we
man.
rehearsed? Okay, cool. Yeah.
I'll give you the bonus. Yeah, you get the bonus reward. All right, but look, shameless plugs and smart business advice aside. I won't even call it shameless plugs anymore. Smart business advice aside, let's talk about some San Diego Comic-Con news and announcements. that might have slipped the cracks amongst all that MCU hype. I mean, you know, and no shade thrown. I was as hype as can be, you know, as a diehard Marvel fan.
Planning out the next 20 years of your life. They need to do my retirement.
Very. It's like, all right. I mean, they basically kind of set out my vacation schedule. I was like, okay, so I can't go anywhere fall 2023.
Can't go anywhere.
I think I can. I got a month break right here. Okay, got it. But anyways, aside from all the MCU hype, there was a lot of news that came out of San Diego Comic-Con that, you know, each one of us kind of felt personally needed a little more spotlight. So, Warren, you being the guest of honor today, how about you go ahead and kick us off, man? What was a piece of news or announcement that caught your attention?
So there was all kinds of stuff that I was really hyped on. I feel like, you know, lots of different fans got something. There's like a lot, you know, whether you just like animation, if you like the movies, if you like toys, I feel like everybody got a little piece. But, you know, on brand for myself, and this is not just bias due to the fact that they're making some of the best new Simpsons things currently. But I got to say, like, the stuff from Super 7, I mean, if you look at, like, their setup at San Diego Comic-Con, it's nuts. I mean, they have prototypes for toys that aren't quite there yet that you can look at so you can see the scale. And I got sent this one photo of, you know, some of the Simpsons prototypes for all the waves of Ultimates that they have coming. And my excitement is through the roof now. I mean, I was already hyped. I already spent the big bucks to order them. But now I don't care if they take, you know, I don't care how long they take. I'm going to get to, I'm excited for those toys. But, I mean, if you look at this list, I mean, they're making, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm sure my screen's going to get real bright. I mean, we're talking new Godzilla toys, new Thundercats toys, new Beavis and Butthead toys, new SpongeBob SquarePants toys, Jim, My Pet Monster, Toho Reaction. I mean, just so many things. And I honestly don't understand how anyone pushes out the sort of stuff that they do. I mean, you see lines like Kid Robot, you know, they couldn't keep up with all their titles. They had to drop some. I feel like Super 7 is like, oh, we'll make whatever we want all the time. So I'm really stoked to just see all the stuff they keep making.
I love the, you know, in true Super 7 fashion, the box art and packaging looks fantastic.
And they're doing, I don't know if this was part of the announcement, but I know they are doing a Silverhawks line for any Thundercats fans. So Tiger Sharks, maybe? We can do them all.
It's basically like it's like my dad is working at this company. And he's, you know, like the coolest he's ever been. He's
80s
like, you know
kids
what?
are in charge now. They're making the stuff they liked as kids.
You know, that's actually a better comparison. You're right. It's like you and Cesar are working there high up, and they're like, we need to. What ideas you got? Silverhawks. Let's go for it.
It seems like anything relevant to their childhood, they are gonna make because you know they're older guys. Like I'm sure they have similar interest to all of us. Like they're clearly like 80s kids, you know. And anytime I see some big announcement, some new cool toy, my instinct is almost, is it Super 7? Because I feel like no one is announcing stuff as often and on such a scale as Super 7. I mean, look at their, like I said, their setup at Comic-Con is insane. It's like a mini store. Like they're just really doing
They're even doing like, and even if you're not into like these IPs, they're even branching out into doing like, you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling figures, action figures and stuff too. So they're like, I don't know how they afford all these IPs, but they're pumping it out.
Yeah. They make sports figures. They make like NBA figures.
Yeah.
I think they've realized that there is a fandom for everything. You know, it doesn't have to be your traditional quote unquote like nerdy stuff. It could also be, like you said, sports, TV, you know, all these properties across the spectrum. They're like, you know, we can make a really well articulated, really well designed piece of memorabilia,
and people will pay for it if it's legit. You know?
And I do like that their prices like fluctuate between like, you know, very easy to kind of get into, but then also caters to like the hardcore collector and, you know, folks that want to add to their collection. Warren, I'm gonna ask you, out of all of the things on this initial the Super 7 San Diego Comic-Con homepage that you sent us, what's one item here that really gets your attention that might be worthy of you picking up?
So, man, you know, I really like this Beavis because
you
know, back in the day, like if you look at early Beavis and Butthead collection stuff, they made really, you know, sort of similar to Simpsons, they made really random stuff like toilet paper, you know, plungers, toilet seat covers, all this stuff. So I think it's sort of like a nod to that old style where it's not only, you know, a Beavis and Butthead figure, but it's coming with actual toilet paper.
Toilet paper,
And the
that's
packaging on that's really cool.
Yeah, that's definitely some break in an extreme emergency toilet paper right there. And that toilet paper looks too good.
Man.
It looks too good to actually use. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think also next to that, the My Pet Monster. Like, I didn't have those as a kid. I always thought they were really cool. I knew people that collected them later in life. And I think they're really awesome. Like, I really get the appeal. And the way that is like sort of coming out of the television, packaging for Super 7 is so big. And I think that really stands out about all of these, is that the packaging is so impressive. And that's what gets me hyped up.
And for all of our audio listeners, I'll have a link to this page that we're looking at. So if you want to pull it up and look along, you're more than welcome to. I mean, I highly recommend it, because this Lion-O figure, this Thundercats Lion-O figure, is he looks so like kind of beautiful, and that's the only phrase I can think of. Like, look at him with his eyes closed, eyelashes all done up, hair looking good,
and they make stuff look vintage. Like, they really they attract that nostalgia, because it's not like, I love Kid Robot, but a lot of their stuff is sort of a more modern take on stuff. Super 7 is really scratching that. No, I want to feel like I bought this in like 1991. Yeah. And that's just one of the many things that makes Super 7 great. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And I'm glad you went a different route with the news, right? Like, because I feel like when it comes to San Diego Comic-Con, the focus is usually on like what movies are going to be announced, what TV series, what actor, celebrity is going to show up. And then I think the next focus is kind of like, all right, what comics are going to be announced? And I think sometimes the toys can be a little long. Well, actually, you can probably make a debate that the toys have probably even superseded.
It's like second fiddle
comic,
to the
right?
movies.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right. I bring all that to say, on a related note, the Marvel Legends announcements from Hasbro have been awesome this week. Drew's been like, that's the only thing me and Drew have been texted like this whole these last couple of days. It's like, yo, did you see that they're releasing a Scorpion figure? Yo, what about this Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends box set? Like, yeah, San Diego Comic-Con is the time to be a comic collector or a toy collector as well. A lot of good announcements. So good stuff, Warren. I like it. Good. Thanks for kicking us off. Speaking about, I guess, Beavis and Butthead, I think this is a really good transition. Thanks for setting that up. You didn't even think about it.
Nice.
But a good transition, Ed, to go to you for your announcement and article piece. What you got for us?
Yeah, so like I said, it is a Mike Judge renaissance. So the big news is, like, they just had on the Paramount Plus, the Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, but he's also bringing back, the animated show kind of in a similar format, where they're making fun of this guy. I guess it's more modern, rather than making fun of videos. They're making fun of, like, TikTok things and reels, I'm guessing. And from what I've read, it's like they're going to switch between, keeping them kind of the same age as they were in the 90s, like all the characters. But I think Mike Judge said he's going to kind of switch back and forth as them as like adults, which is really funny, and then kind of go back as kids. So it's going, and they kind of kept the animation style and the character designs the same, because that was like all his idea. Just like, we don't want to. This is the formula that works. We want to keep them as dumb as they ever was, and just keep the theme of the spirit of these characters going. And like I said, it's cool. Like, even rolling off the Beavis and Butthead stuff, he's also teased like a King of the Hill, possible King of the Hill return. And probably my favorite thing he's done is and he's smart. He put his name on it this time, so he has the rights to it. Mike Judge presents Tales from the Tour Bus, which came out like 2017, 2018, but season 1 was like Outlaw Country with like Johnny Paycheck, Waylon Jennings. Season 2 was Funk with like George Clinton, Bootsy Collins, Morris Day and the Time.
Those are
fantastic
so good,
stuff.
Man.
They're so good. They're like basically interviewing the actual people.
I remember you bringing up the was it the Parliament episode?
Yeah, I think probably the
Parliament one is
Bootsy
incredible.
Yeah.
Parliament one
might be
is
my
pretty
favorite
incredible.
one. Yeah,
it's a crazy story, but they basically they do the interviews, but they kind of draw it in a simplified, that kind of, I guess, Mike Judge aesthetic. So everything is animated, even like the flashbacks and even the interview portions with the real people. So he's teasing that he wants to bring back a season 3 doing like the early history of hip hop. So that, like I said, between all that, and he even threw out like we might even see, like a Daria, since Beavis and Butthead, Daria come back too. So it seems like I think he recently got those rights back, from MTV. So he's he's making a comeback. Oh, maybe an Idiocracy too. I don't know.
Nice.
What do you guys think?
I mean, damn, come on.
I feel like kind of serendipitous. He gets the rights back, and there's such a I think in just pop culture, especially like in fashion in general, like a renaissance. For like 90s shit, right?
Well, we've had this 80s kind of renaissance, and now we're kind of shifting into the 90s now. So it lines up and it makes sense.
The official beacon, and I am now an old ass dude. Hell yeah.
I'm old as hell. I'll tell you too, they released a clip of Beavis and Butthead, and I watched it. It's so fucking funny. And they actually show them like sort of talking over a TikTok where this guy explains how to make tattoo ink in prison. And it is so much funnier than them commenting on a music video. They literally are like, "Oh, I wonder what he went to prison for." And he's like, "Oh, I think he was just born there." They're like, "Sir, you look like you're going to be in prison, so you're in prison. Like we're going to go ahead and skip the bullshit." It's so funny, and Mike Judge sounds incredible.
The material they have just from like TikTok alone.
This guy, you just live here now?
That's gonna be awesome. Warren, you look like you were shaking your head like, in total agreement and happiness when he brought up King of the Hill possibly coming back too. That's another show, another favorite of yours?
I'm really stoked on the Beavis and Butthead stuff. I'm really stoked on the King of the Hill stuff because, I mean, it'll be sad because the voice of Luann is no longer with us. But I do think there's a way to do it, and I think it would be really funny. I think King of the Hill might be more relevant now than ever. I think because they can use those circumstances, that setting, to comment on a lot of stuff. I'm sure he would love to make fun of Texas, or call out Texas in a certain way. I know he has love for Texas, but I'm sure he would love to commentate on some of the problems in a place like Texas. So I think it's a great time for that show to come back. I think it's, obviously he is inspired in a lot of ways to do something new with a lot of this stuff. I was never a huge Daria fan, so I don't really feel too much for that announcement, but I also am down. Whatever makes Mike Judge money, he deserves it.
100% agreed. Excellent. Thank you, Ed. All right, I'm going to take us on a different road. I'm going to go back to kind of a focus on comics, and one of the bigger events that happens during San Diego Comic-Con, especially with the lens of the comic industry, and that is the Eisner Awards happens during San Diego Comic-Con. For those of you unfamiliar, the Eisner Awards are considered the Oscars of the comic industry. They have 32 categories, and it's named after the comic creator, the pioneering comic creator at that, and graphic novelist Will Eisner. So a lot of a well-respected award show, for lack of better terms, but the judges are normally retailers. They're librarians involved. There's also fellow comic creators, journalists. So people that actually care about the medium are the ones making the judgments and whatnot on the categories. And I wanted to go through just some of the categories and the winners. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all 32, but there was a couple of winners that are both creators as well as titles that we've championed here on the show. I know I like to look at this list to kind of give me an idea of other titles and creators that to look out for. Maybe there's things that fell between the cracks for me, but also to solidify just how good our fucking taste is here on the show. All right, between all four of us, I feel like just a reminder, man. Like when we give a recommendation, check that out. It might be a future winner. All right, we have that ability sometimes. So I'm just gonna do just a quick kind of run through just of the ones that stood out to me that we've talked about here on the show. For Best Continuing Series, this was actually a tie between Bitter Root by David Walker and Something is Killing the Children by James Tynion. And both series, I know that, Ed, I think you had championed Bitter Root, ever since it came out, and maybe you and Ashley both talked about how good Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah, they're both excellent.
Admittedly, I still haven't started Something is Killing the Children, and I think this is kind of like that final push, Once something wins an Eisner, you're like, all right, I get it. I fucking get it. I need to read it.
I'll read it, jerks.
Or you could be like, look, I only read Eisner winning the title, right? All right, if you want to get on my radar, all right, you want to have my time, all right. And then this series here won Best Limited Series, and that was The Good Asian by Pornsak Pickashow. Hopefully, I probably said that wrong. I apologize. And artist Alexander Tefenki. There you go. Tefenki. There you go. That was a series from Image. And if you're a fan of like noir
that's
stories,
a good one too. I think
with a little bit of like historical like really heavy on the historical accuracy. That was really good.
Yeah, I think Ashley may have championed that, but I will agree with that. That's an excellent series, and I think they're doing a thing where it's each story arc is a new series, you know, so it's like 6-issue, you know, for you know the trade model.
All right, and then one of the bigger categories here, and that is the best penciler, inker, or penciler inker team, and that went to one guy in general, and that is Phil Jimenez, who for his work on Wonder Woman Historia. The Amazons, and that was a Black Label book printed by DC. I had championed this one a few weeks ago. Or, sorry, I had championed this one a few months ago when I finally had a chance to get it. And in my opinion, well deserved. Have you seen the art in that, Ed?
Yeah, I remember you showed it to me.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's right. It is jam packed. It is like more imagery than your eyeballs has ever seen in a comic book. I mean, the guy obviously has put a lot of work into that one single issue, you know, and that was just one issue in a 4-issue miniseries, but it was able to stand out on its own, and I think that's why it was eligible to be a part of that category. And then moving on, Best Graphic Album was won by Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. I know, Ed, you had brought in that book when it came out. I had a chance to hold it and look at it, and it looked amazing. He didn't just win that one, but that title also won like three total awards, if not 4. I mean, Barry Windsor Smith, you know, for those unfamiliar, this guy has been working in comics since the late 60s. And the guy is, you know, he's an incredible artist. He went on to do a lot of stuff for Marvel. I think that's how he kind of like got his name in the industry, and then went and did his own thing. And he's still putting out like work. I mean, obviously, Monsters is something that's maybe a year old. I think it's back in 2021, and people are praising this as like his magnum opus. When you think about being in the industry from the 60s till now, and you're dropping stuff that people are still like, yo, this is the best thing you've ever done.
And for those who may not know the name, but just that iconic Wolverine, Weapon X Wolverine with a helmet and like the wires hanging off. Oh, that is like that's it.
Yeah.
Classic.
Oh man.
Classic.
God, what a
Barry
cool
Windsor
image.
Smith.
Yeah, it is. So Barry Windsor Smith was cleaning up at the Eisner Awards, right? So best graphic album for Monster, best lettering, and then best writer artist. So that category is for.
It's almost like a lifetime achievement award he's
that
getting with all these.
He's killing it. So that was really cool, and makes me want to check that out myself. And the last two that I got highlighted here is the best adaptation from another medium. I think this is one that Ashley had talked about last year, and that was George Orwell's 1984, the graphic novel adapted by Fido Nesti. I'm always curious about like these kinds of categories where they kind of talk about like adaptations and archival things and graphic novels and, you know, literature things about comics, because I love finding out more about comic books. So like the companies that take the time and the initiative to put together books about comics or try cool like adaptations of like modern classics, I think are worthy to be highlighted. And then last but not least, we got the best archival collection / project, and that went to EC Cover Artist Edition, edited by Scott Dunbier. So that was essentially like one of those really nice Artist Edition books put out by IDW that collects all of these like old EC covers and showing the line work and black and white pencils. That's been on my.
IDW does really good those artist editions. Yeah, fantastic.
If you can get your hand on any of those artist editions, they're worth having in your. Granted, you don't know. I don't know where you. You need to have like a custom bookshelf just for them alone. But seeing this on here, once again, the Eisner list to me just ends up being like a nice shopping list for me. And then honorable mention here that I'll mention, an honorable mention that I'll add too is that at the Eisner Awards, they also have a Comic Hall of Fame, which I would love to do an episode about that.
They need to make a physical Hall of Fame. That would be awesome.
With statues?
Yeah, statues. Like comic pages and stuff.
Yeah. So they have a list. They have a list of Hall of Famers, of nominees that go into the Hall of Fame that are selected by the judges. But then they have a voter's choice, too, where the judges nominate some folks, and then it's up to voters to select who gets admitted into the Hall of Fame. And there's 4 names there's, I think, 17 this year, so a pretty hefty list. But some of those names that stood out to me was for this Voters' Choice Award was Kevin Eastman, co-founder, co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He got into the Hall of Fame that's
awesome.
This year. You got David Mazzucchelli, artist for Daredevil, Born Again, Batman Year One. I'm surprised he hasn't been in it prior to this. Our boy Grant Morrison made it as a Hall of Fame as well, and Larry Hama too.
Oh, nice,
a Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, man, Eisner Awards it's always, and it's fun conversation too. Like even, I was having a conversation with our boy Austin actually, Warren. He was hitting me up asking me my thoughts on the Eisner and who won, and it's just fun conversation sometimes to talk about like who you think should have won and whatnot. It's cool that comics has something like that as well. Like the Oscars or any music awards. So.
Oh, completely. And I'm going to throw this in right here because this is someone that I have a great amount of respect for, and I know you do as well, Badr, as someone who's been on your podcast and mine, and that's our boy Bill Morrison.
Oh, yeah.
Who actually won the Inkpot Award this year.
Hell yeah.
So, we're talking about awards. My man is joining the ranks of Jack Kirby, Will Eisner, Kevin Feige, Steven Spielberg. I mean, that's a huge honor, and no one deserves it more than my man Bill Morrison. I was so pumped to see that. I got really fired up about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to see. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and do him a just. I'm gonna give him a round of applause. All right, round of applause, oh boy, Bill Morrison for that. And I'll admit, Warren, I'm familiar with the Inkpot Awards. I'm familiar with the name. I just wasn't sure like what it was for, so I looked it up and got a little more context. It says the Inkpot Awards are given to individuals for their contributions to the world of comics, sci-fi, fantasy, film, television, animation, and fandom services. Particularly people who cross over between two or more of these categories, are more than likely to bring home the statue. And when you consider someone like Bill Morrison, has excelled and left a giant mark in comics, but also animation and product design as well. I think it's well deserved. Well deserved.
Yes, I mean, Bill. This is someone that I've been lucky enough to get to know a little bit and talk to, and no one is more humble and willing to like give the credit to other people. I mean, there was friends of mine who do a YouTube channel called The Simpsons Theory did a video all about Bongo Comics, and they covered Bill a lot in that video. And Bill could not stop being like, well, can you go back and add something about Ian Boothby? Can you go back and talk a little more about, Steve and Cindy Vance? Like he really just wants to share the credit with everybody. And I think that that's how you get that far in an industry and you make that many connections. And so, recently, this is sort of relevant to that. Abrams put out a new collection of Treehouse of Horror comics, which I'll probably talk more about later, maybe for Champion Season. But in the back, like you see the credits of who did what and who is in the book. And when you get to Bill's name, he like swallows the page compared to everyone else. So just seeing his contributions like across the board is like, I don't know. I was just really happy to see him get that. And he looks so damn happy in that photo. Come on.
Yeah. I'll also add to that his work ethic is insane. For someone that's been doing this for so long, it looked like, and I quickly glanced over that photo, but it looked like they handed him that award and got, the photo at his desk or maybe his booth or something. It looked like they might have caught him like in the middle of doing a commission or something. I know when I seen him at Heroes Con, like he had the conversation with me while sketching, right? Like he was focused on his work and he was like, "Oh man, thanks so much for coming through." I got like all this stuff to do. So congratulations to Bill Morrison.
Bill rules. He somebody asked me like, "Oh, I'm going to the Simpsons panel. What should I ask?" And I said, "Yeah, you should ask this, but also make sure you go meet Bill Morrison and get a sketch."
Yeah, well said. Well said. All right, and I got one more announcement to share that might have gone under that might have slipped between the cracks, and I think this could have easily been missed considering that I think it took place right after all the MCU news, the MCU news bomb that went off, that was set off in Hall H. But the news is that Jonathan Hickman is returning to Marvel Comics alongside artist Valerio Schetti, I think that's how you say his last name, for a cryptic new title. I don't think it's got a title yet, but he premiered. There was like some teaser text, but he was on the panel with Valero talking about the new project that he's working on, and it's a project that he had pitched or was working on before he left Marvel after doing House of X, Power of X, X-Men. He pitched both ideas, and Marvel was like, "Well, let's go with the X-Men idea, obviously," and he's able to kind of come back and revisit this. But he says that he's been working on this title for 3 years. Like I said, predates his exit from Marvel and doing X-Men. He's described the series as Sandman for the Marvel Universe. And if Ed, you had to take a guess at what that might mean, what comes to mind? Because I think that's a very esoteric, and very wide-ranging remark.
Is this existing characters, or is this something he's
I think it's safe to assume existing character. If he's working for Marvel, I think it's going to be
true.
existing, right?
Yeah, he could go to Image for that. I have no Sandman.
What if I shared actually what the teaser text said? So I think during his panel, it was just like a teaser text of like some space, backdrop, and the text reads, "What happens when the powers that might be meet the natural order of things?"
I would think Celestials, Eternals.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking more so like those the concepts, right, in Marvel, and we got to see like some of that.
Eternity
exactly. Eternity,
Living Tribunal,
all those guys. Chaos, like the shit that makes up the universe.
Mephisto, that would be pretty. That's the perfect guy to do something like that.
For sure. Like very.
Let's just hope he gets it done before it starts publishing.
Very wide, encompassing, heady kind of like themes and topics. I think it's going to be awesome to see if he's saying it's going to be like the Sandman for the Marvel universe. That sets the bar really high. Mm-hmm. So let's do some time in 2023, and it got me thinking if maybe he mentioned that during the panel that I hosted with him and Scotty Young, because I remember him saying something like. Scotty Young and him were talking about working with like the Marvel, specifically like MCU stuff, and he mentioned something about like Secret Wars. So I was wondering if maybe I missed it, if like maybe he hinted at all this shit that was announced and I just missed it, or what. But regardless, I'm excited to hear that Jonathan Hickman is returning back to Marvel Comics. I mean, the dude does great work for his creator-owned stuff. I know he's been doing a lot of stuff with like Substack and his own, publishing and whatnot, but. I'll be honest, his work on Marvel is some of the best comics I've ever read, especially from that publisher. So with that being said, I will turn it over to, who do we got next? I did that. Oh, Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you because you got some comic book news too.
Yeah, like I said, I just saw this interview this morning with the Todd McFarlane, the Todd father himself. And, you know how he is. He's a fun listen. So basically he had a few announcements. The first one, like I said, he's doing he's back behind a director's chair. He's actually directing a video for Ozzy Osbourne, which is pretty wild. So, and like I said, he was just talking about, he went on this rant about how Ozzy Osbourne has like the fastest signature he's ever seen. He's just like, they did a signing together. But another big comic book related announcement is him and Greg Capullo will be doing another Spawn Batman crossover.
With Jim Lee, right? I seen the photo of them and Jim Lee, and I was, and my mind just like raced to like, oh shit, is Jim Lee gonna have some part in this?
I don't know if I know Jim Lee got him that DC toy deal, so those guys are still boys. But as far as that, it's gonna be, I think, Greg Capullo doing the art,
probably,
and I guess he's gonna, Todd McFarlane will be writing. I think he's done drawing. His hands just count money now.
Like if there's anyone that I could have,
I'm busy.
If I could be any creator in the industry and have like their career, Todd McFarlane is like probably my number one.
Yeah, so like I said, and he basically guarantees this is going to be the biggest selling book of this year, if not the last 10 years. So he's putting that out there because he did the kind of expanded the Spawn universe, and those sold well, and he's like. It's like, I didn't even have Batman or Greg Capullo. I should sell twice as many as those.
I love that confidence. That confidence is infectious, man.
He's, like I said, and we had our spotlight on him, and he's just, because like I said, he has that, that kind of jock athletic mentality because he was, a baseball player. So he has that confidence that a lot of artists usually don't get associated with, He doesn't second guess himself. And the last thing, the long kind of, we have no idea what's going on, but the Spawn movie that was announced a few years ago.
Yeah, with Jamie Foxx, right?
Jamie Foxx, he's guaranteeing, since I'm saying it, I have to make an announcement, but the New York Comic-Con is in October, so he's basically said we're going to have news about the movie. It's like, so that's been just kind of floating out there forever with no real updates or anything, but he says, since he did this interview, he said, since I put it out there, we're going to have an announcement, regarding the movie. So we're going to have some details fleshed out. So those were some, it was only like a 5-6 minute interview, but he's always an entertaining listen for
That's
sure.
Awesome. I'll have to give that a watch. But I feel like as the interviewer, I would have been like, I bet you won't drop a trailer right now. I bet you won't. 500 right now says you won't. That's what I want. I don't want no more news. I want to see a costume. I want a little teaser.
Yeah.
I want something, Todd. Please. The streets is hungry. The
Yeah.
streets is hungry.
He says
for
he's
this
going to
Jamie
have
Foxx movie.
He said he's not going to guarantee like a full trailer, but there will be something, there will be some
Substantial.
tangible
Okay.
to,
All right.
to announce. Yeah.
Fair
Luckily,
enough.
Jamie Foxx doesn't age, so as long as it's
Bro.
made
Yeah.
within the next 100 years, it'll be fine.
Bro, I'm
Well, he'll
telling
be
you,
in that Spawn makeup. He'll be good. Either way.
True.
that Ray Charles movie was on TV the other night, and it was like a weird scene was on, or watched it. I caught it right in the middle, and I thought it was a different movie. And I was like, damn, Jamie Foxx had another movie out? That's like, nah, this motherfucker you're right. He just don't age. He looked the same in every movie.
Mm-hmm.
He looks great.
He looked the same since he was in Living Color. He hasn't changed at all.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. But I think, now, Ed, let me ask you, do you think he's got the potential, a Spawn and Batman crossover comic has a potential to be the number one seller? It sounds like he thinks he can break some records with that.
I think the way he gets behind things, and if, like I said, it's two of the best-selling comic book characters, so it's not a stretch, but I think it'll be in the top 5 of the year for sure.
I'd almost wager probably top 2. I'd say top 2. And then we should probably do a wager of how many variant covers do you think?
Oh, there's going to be
come
about
with
30.
I mean,
Easy.
with
You gotta-
characters like that, you can draw them so many ways and do so much with the art for a book like that. I think people will buy it just out of curiosity, even if
Yeah,
they don't
and
care
you-
about the story.
And having Greg Capullo is smart because he's a established Spawn. He was
Oh,
basically the heir to McFarlane. McFarlane passed the torch to him on his Spawn run, and then he's the new 52 he's one of the definitive Batman artists of the
Easy.
last 10 years.
Easy. He could do this stuff in his sleep. Like
Yeah.
he really could just. I mean, this will be light work to him. I'm trying to remember. I know the Spawn Batman crossover from like the 90s. That was drawn by Todd McFarlane, and then there was the Batman Spawn. That one was by Chuck Dixon and Alan. Oh shit, Alan. You know what? Completely. I feel like we cannot dismiss this. The fact that I just pulled this up and getting reminded of the name. Alan Grant recently passed away,
just passed
and
away
he
this week.
was a writer on a lot of, speaking about Batman, a lot of Batman titles. Some of the best Batman titles from back in the day with Norm Breyfogle. Is that how you say his, the artist?
Breyfogle?
Breyfogle. Thank you so much. And Alan Grant happened to be one of the writers on the Batman Spawn crossover that happened in the early 2000s. So this year. These last 2 years, I'll say, have been taking a lot of comic legends from us, man. And that Alan Grant one came, I guess much like any news of someone passing, it really came out of nowhere, but it definitely caught a lot of people by surprise. So definitely want to pay our respects to Alan Grant. With that being said, I appreciate you, Ed, for bringing that up and getting me hype about some Batman Spawn. How about we talk about the very obvious announcements and center of attention when it came to San Diego Comic-Con? It should come as no surprise that that Kevin Feige had. I feel like he just had something to prove. He was like, all this shit talking, y'all got about Phase 4. All right, I got something for that ass. I got something for that. I'm not gonna say nothing. I feel like he just kind of stayed quiet. Like, I'm not gonna say nothing. But San Diego Comic-Con is coming up, and I've got a mic. I don't got just a mic drop. I got a mic obliterator. All right, for all of you. All right, and that's what they came to do. All right, we got the Phase 5 full lineup. We got Phase 6 basically the lineup, not a very detailed lineup at that, but you know that the internet and Twitter yesterday. We're recording on Sunday. The big Hall H MCU announcement was made yesterday on Saturday. For me at least, my Twitter feed was filled with the classic grainy fucking MCU
sideways,
timeline photo.
It's like a World Star video.
Yeah, it's like
sideways.
It's like someone, for the love of God, can we post a non 360p image? Like, give me some 300 DPI images, right? But I'm just gonna kind of go through very quickly, recap with the Phase 5 announcements and the Phase 6, and then I want to hear from you guys. What's the announcement that you're looking forward to? What trailer has got you hype? With Phase 5, it looks like we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. What is that? 10, 12 movies and a Disney Plus series coming out. We're starting off next year with Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. I think that in that trailer that they showed, and I understand that they showed a few teaser trailers in the actual Hall H announcements and whatnot that haven't made their way to the internets just yet. I'm sure in the coming weeks, those will start filtering out. If not this week, by the time this episode comes out. But I understand the Ant-Man and Wasp teaser trailer they actually showed Jonathan Majors in costume as Kang, and it was a very menacing look into, the main villain that will be in the Ant-Man and Wasp. They confirmed that the Secret Invasion Disney Plus series will be coming in spring 2023. Also in 2023 will be Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which apparently should be, I understand that James Gunn shared a very heartfelt and emotional speech about the honor and privilege it was filming and working on Guardians, but that chapter is closing for them. After that will be the Echo Disney Plus series, which I understand that our boy Charlie Cox, man, I love all this. And we're gonna, Ed, I know me and you're excited to talk about some Daredevil Charlie Cox, but I'm appreciating all the respect that they are putting on our boy Charlie Cox as Daredevil. He's supposed to be making an appearance in this Echo Disney Plus series taking place.
Vincent D'Onofrio as well, Kingpin.
Vincent D'Onofrio put up a tweet, I think either yesterday or this morning, and it was when I was a young boy, ... his infamous speech from Daredevil.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it gets me hyped. So that'll be in summer. Also in summer 2023, you got the Loki Season 2 series. You got the Marvels. The Marvels, that'll be a movie. The Blade movie will be in November. Come on, for our boy Mahir Alash. Wait, how do you say his last name?
Mahir Ali.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Correct me on that one.
I'm
Mahershala
excited
Ali,
for.
Thank you.
That's a tongue twister. I'm excited for that too.
I want
Super
Luke Cage
excited.
to be in it and like, you look familiar. Do I know you from somewhere?
So we got Blade, and then rounding out the rest of 2020. I mean, it's a lot of movies, a lot of content in 2023. I think pretty much one every month, right? If it's 10, that's 10 out of 12 months. So we're going to wrap up with Ironheart. That'll be sometime in fall 2023. And then winter begins like the Agatha Coven of Chaos Disney Plus series. Spring 2024 brings us Daredevil Born Again Disney Plus series. I understand that's supposed to be an 18 episode series. If you've complained about those old Marvel Netflix Marvel series, how they were all 13 and 12 episodes, boy, get ready to bitch and complain about this. But I know I'm excited for all of it.
Yeah.
And then Phase 4 will end with Captain America New World Order in May 2024, and then the Thunderbolts movie in July 2024. And then the only news really for Phase 6 is that it'll be kicked off with the much highly anticipated Fantastic Four movie in November 2024 and finishes with Avengers, The Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Secret Wars. So a 2-part movie. Wow. And they finally confirmed that the thing that, a lot of us, were thinking that they were going to, whether they were going to do Secret Wars or not. So they got all of that out of the way. Kevin Feige said, look, all these questions and all this doubt you guys have had about this, all of this,
Jeez.
Shut up. All right. There you go. There you go. All right. So with that being said, Warren, out of all of the announcements, the Phase 5 and 6 announcements, which one's like really piqued your interest? Which one are you like looking forward to the most?
So I'm gonna do this for Ashley right now because I just feel like she deserves the extra support, and I'm gonna say Loki season 2, man. I loved the first season of Loki, and I think even like more casual Marvel fans could just enjoy it from a very, just a show perspective. It's just an interesting story, even if you're not super invested. And I'm also really excited about Blade. I love the Blade movies as a kid. I love Mahershala Ali, and I think that that's going to be great. But Loki, that's a story I think they could go all kinds of places with. I thoroughly loved that first season. It's one of my favorite Marvel shows they've done yet, for sure.
For sure. That might be like, I think I can confidently say that might be my favorite one. I think WandaVision beats it out just a little bit, but not by much. And I think the only comment I have about this Loki season 2 announcement is that it's not sooner. Like, I wish it was a little sooner than, like, I probably could do without this Echo series, but I'm excited for Loki season 2 as well. Ed, what about you, man? Which one's got your attention?
I would say, I know Daredevil is definitely up there, and Daredevil I'm excited about because they use the Born Again thing, and we've seen so many hints of the story in the Daredevil series, the Netflix series. Yeah, that I'd like to see it fully realized. And it's 18 episodes, so I usually kind of don't care for that many in one season.
That's
but
a lot.
That's a lot. But I think I love Daredevil the series so much. I think I can definitely power my way through that. But like I agree with you, it's the Blade. The Blade and the Agatha series, because I love Jessica Hahn. She's awesome. That I'm just curious what that's going to be about. But the Blade, I'm excited for because I love the monster stuff in the Marvel comics. You know, I don't know what they're going to tackle, but I'd love to see. I've always talked about wanting like a Legion of Monsters series, even getting like some, you know, Ghost Rider, you know, like Man Thing, like Elsa Bloodstone, Johnny Blaze, some of those, you know, monster characters, the Spirits of Vengeance. I have no idea what they're going to do, and it'll probably won't be directly tied in with a lot of the, you know, Avengers related or Kang related storyline.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they can introduce those guys, seeing like the maybe like the Hellstroms, you know, Son of Satan, you know, just all those, you know, Mephisto, like all those crazy like drive-in movie monster characters, that would be really cool. So I'm curious to see, you know, what they do with Blade.
Yeah, well said. I'm gonna piggyback that Daredevil Born Again has like piqued my interest. This revitalization on, this resurgence on Charlie Cox as Daredevil has just got me hyped, man. I think he definitely the Daredevil Netflix series was the very best of that Marvel Netflix run, and his passion for the character and like just how committed he is and how he embraces like the fandom and the lore. Has been a lot of fun to see. You know, like the fact that he's very open about wanting to be a part of the MCU and get that Disney money. I don't knock it, man. Go for it, baby. And then even like Vincent D'Onofrio, like really kind of playing into the character. I love when actors like, you know, whether it be for the whatever the reasoning is or whatever. I love when seeing an actor like really embrace the fandom and the character, right? And that seems pretty genuine.
Yeah, I want that job security. I got a job for at least 3 or 4 more years.
Which I mean, I can't knock it. I do it too, baby. I do it too. But I'm super excited that they are giving us, you know, by title one of the best Daredevil, you know, comics ever.
Mm-hmm.
Little hesitant on the 18 episodes. I think they've got to really do some, you know, take this in some very interesting places and, you know, maybe do something fresh with the story because I just don't see that. I mean, the comic was what, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8. I can't recall at the moment, but an 8-issue series. I just don't know how you get 18 episodes, and if all of them are an hour, you know, that's a lot of content. Yeah. And maybe that's why
so many of these Disney Marvel shows too are like, you know, 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. So 18 seems like
3 seasons.
Shit ton. Yeah,
and maybe
that's a lot.
And maybe that's why for this one, because they have like key dates on a few of them, right? Like Blade is November 3rd, 2023, but with Daredevil, it's like spring 2024, and maybe it's like it's not just around spring. No, all of spring 2024 is Daredevil Born Again. He don't get a release date; he get a whole season. It's like now he get a whole, you know, for real season.
Watch, every episode is going to be like 16 minutes long with like 8 minutes of credits.
Definitely be 8 minutes of credits. That's for sure.
Every episode is going to be a YouTube short. That's what it's going to be. All right, and the other thing I'll say is, of course, I'm very hyped to know that we're getting a 2-part Avengers movie. And if you look at this timeline too, you know, even though it's grainy as hell, there does seem to be a movie or 2, maybe even 2, in between the first Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, and Avengers: Secret Wars. So I wonder if that's accurate or maybe this is the way I'm reading it, but. It sounds like whatever they've got planned for this upcoming phase and the last phase of this larger multiverse saga, which is the name of phases 4, 5, and 6. It sounds like they've got something huge planned. And I think when you're talking about, when you look at the elements of it playing with like multiverse, you know, like cosmic deities and, you know, these very large concepts, it makes sense that, you know, for them to wrap it up, they're going to need 2 movies, much like they had to do with the Infinity Saga.
Now we got every god that ever existed ever from like Thor in the MCU.
Yeah. So I think this is good in the sense of all these announcements are good in the sense that they've confirmed a lot of things that people have been talking about and pondering, like the fact that they are going to lean in on the Kang. We are going to get Secret Wars, which is by far one of my favorite comic big crossover events ever. And then also giving us like an idea that I think this kind of gives a little more confidence, you know, like what I've personally heard with this current Phase 4 is like, there's no direction. What are they working towards? What's Marvel? Marvel needs a goal. I think they're kind of showing you like, look, it doesn't always need to be telegraphed. It doesn't, I think you guys need to be a little more patient,
Yeah.
and they're kind of showing us that they're playing around with I don't know, just very interesting characters like Agatha having her own series. Whether that ties in or not, I think is a bold move, especially with like Echo as well. So it's kind of like scratching the itch in the sense of like giving us interesting new characters and like especially like Thunderbolts is getting a movie. That's a very obscure group to work with, and then also leaning into the whole like big theatrical events that we all have known to come and love, of like the Avengers movies.
Yeah, like I said, they're just basically adding more branches to this tree. There'll still be like a direct line and a direct villain, I'm sure, but why can't you have all these characters under your umbrella, and they've made obscure characters household names.
Yeah.
Stuff that I never would have thought I'd ever see growing up as a comic book fan.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see Rocket Raccoon in a movie. Are you kidding me? Groot? That's insane that that it exists and that they made it work. And their track record.
And that so many people love it.
Yeah.
Never knew what it was before.
Yeah.
Bro, not just love it, but it has like they've managed to splinter off a completely separate arm of Marvel. Like it's not just the community that just reads and loves the comics is vastly. Granted, there's plenty of overlap, but you can just fall in love with the movies, and that's your thing.
Yeah.
Without ever having read the comics, you're like, this is all I care about.
They make it accessible
Yeah.
for people, but I do think they keep, for the most part, they do. It's like the people now that are making the movies were comic fans. They weren't just like trying to chase a dollar like back in the day when they made a superhero movie. They're just like, I'll just put it up there, and
For sure.
people, they'll come and see it. They don't, they're idiots.
I will say though, it does. When I seen that list for Phase 5, there was a sense of like, this is a lot though.
It is a lot.
This is quite
It's a
bit.
full-time job keeping up with this.
Bro. And I feel like they are single-handedly like keeping up the YouTube industry. A lot of these full-time YouTubers, they are giving them the ammo. 'Cause
They're like,
I immediately started
Content.
thinking like, oh, these boys about to be eaten. These MCU fans with the YouTube channels are about to be eaten for months and years.
Well, I always think like, do they have like a fucking checklist? Like when they write a new script, do they just like go down and they like read each little part and they're like, okay, that'll work. All right, next day. Like it's like they gotta have. I don't know how they manage to make all of this work together. And I know it probably takes an army of people, but God, it's like I just can't fathom trying to keep up with that much information. It's insane. It's like Star Wars, same thing. I just don't know how you make everything work.
Yeah. So in addition to the upcoming movies and announcements that we also got a few trailers. I don't think anything too mind blowing. I won't say that. That'd be disrespectful to the one that I'm going to highlight. But I won't say a bunch of trailers like we've gotten in previous years, where it's a lot of trailers for new upcoming movies and teasers. I think we got a lot of trailers that solidified releases we know that are coming out, like Black Adam got another trailer. Shazam got his first official trailer. We got the first official trailer for Black Panther 2. We got another trailer for She-Hulk. And then I think like some concept art or teasers for some of the other Marvel Disney Plus shows like X-Men 97, What If Season 2, and Spider-Man Freshman Year. Out of same question to both of you. Out of all of those, which trailer piqued your interest? Which one was your favorite? Warren, how about you kick us off, man? Take that one first.
Man, I got to say X-Men 97, man. Just out of loyalty to my childhood, I loved that show so much.
Sure.
And I think they're going to do a good job.
Yeah, it looks cool. Like I saw the picture of like the Hellfire Club. I'm like, oh my god. And like Magneto with the big M on his chest with the long silver locks.
Come on, man.
And the gloves.
Ponytails.
Yeah.
Looks good.
I think that has potential to be so cool. I mean, that's the thing that I just that show. It's interesting that they're picking up such an old story, but I think that's also, it kind of contains it in a way that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Like they can't get too wacky with it, and I like that.
And like we've talked about it before, it's like, this is a lot of people's version of the X-Men. This is what they know.
Yeah.
This is the cartoon. This is the iconic lineup that people know, and it's smart, and they keep it in that same, the animation style and the art style, the character designs. They keep it consistent with the '90s show, and that's another smart move to keep it like more uniform.
Yeah, animation looks amazing. Character designs look awesome, and I love the diversity of cast too. Like, it looks like they're really getting into their into like their bag when it comes to selecting like the characters that'll show up, and that's just off 3-4 stills. Imagine like what's really gonna pop off when the series comes out, and it'll come out here soon too. Fall 2023 is actually that's way far.
Look,
that's way farther.
I
than
just
got
to say this too. I got to say this too. When I was a kid, the first true romance that I was invested in outside of maybe like Zach and Kelly on Saved by the Bell was definitely Rogue and Gambit. So I mean, give me all the. I was like.
She's
my
too
kid
good for
brain
that
thought
scumbag.
Rogue was a real person.
Too good for that
I
guy.
loved her. How dare you talk about Gambit like that?
Oh, what a
He's great. He has
scumbag.
style.
Look,
Come
what
on.
a dirtbag.
and he's smoked.
He's so
Come on, mon
slimy.
ami. Come on.
Exactly. You're like
He's like Pepe Le Pew with the weird 2-fingered gloves. Get out of here.
he's Pepe Le Pew with a mullet. All right. Yeah. You're like, damn it.
Bro, he can throw cards. He can do card tricks. They explode. Come on.
I will go on it's not even a limb, but I can guarantee that every single kid that threw a playing card across the room was because of Gambit.
Mon
from
chéri.
X-Men. All right. I know it was for me.
Absolutely. Come on, man. He was one of my favorites to play with on the arcade game too.
Bro,
Come on.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Colossus
Little
was my
fast for that
guy,
stick too.
but I feel you on that. All right, Ed, what about you, man? Which trailer won you over?
I liked a few of them, but I think out of all of them, I'm kind of curious to see the She-Hulk show because it looks like they're doing.
That second trailer was much better than the
It's
first.
super. It looks
agree.
like a fun show, and it's almost taking kind of like that John Byrne series. His kind of the fourth wall humor and things like that.
Yeah.
I like the actress playing She-Hulk. The name escapes me at the moment.
Got it.
It's Tatiana something, or I'm
look it
not sure. But it looks fun, like the dynamic between the Hulk and her, and doing like the training montages and stuff like that. I think it's going to be a pretty fun show, and I think it's going to be pretty light. So,
Real quick, I just typed in She-Hulk and it pulled up the cast, and she's not even listed on this cast. What the hell is this?
oh no, She-Hulk.
That's fucking
It's
weird.
all CGI. Is a CGI first CGI actor?
You remember when everyone was trying to get Megan Thee Stallion to play She-Hulk?
Oh man,
It's
The
like,
internet
come
was
on,
talking
y'all.
about that
Let's-
nonstop.
yeah.
She would be great cast for that.
She could definitely be in this show for sure. I think they could make her fit, but her name is Tatiana Maslany. Maslany. Is that right? There we go. I had to go to Wikipedia to find it. Come on, IMDb. Step your game up. No, but that second trailer looked won me over a lot more than that first one. I think they also, and maybe it's just a trick of the eyes or whatever. But did you feel like the CGI was a little better in this trailer as well? Like I know that was a big complaint when that first one dropped. Was like, what the hell? She looks weird and CGI looks funky. Do you think it looked a little better in your opinion?
it looked better to me. I'm not as finicky about the CGI stuff. I grew up with like shit on strings going across the screen, so I'm not too finicky about it, and that's a tough task because it's all CGI. It's pretty much going to be all CGI when she's She-Hulk, but
I think she looked better because I think they showed a lot more footage of her next to Bruce Banner, and I think it made, I don't know if that made it look a little better because you had that to juxtapose, and you're like, oh, they match. And Bruce Banner as Hulk looks really good.
I think if there's more CG elements in the scenes, it definitely looks
jarring,
better. Yeah.
Well, and not only, but and I'm glad you both said that because I often get irritated by people that are like hyper critical of CGI because I'm like, I understand that you want it to look as good as possible, but you grew up watching movies, like it's not real. Do you think your comic books are real? Like it's okay, like if you can tell it's CG, that's okay. I mean, how good can it really get?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you both said that.
Yeah. And Ed, I noticed in the trailer that she does the fourth wall break for a little bit, which if that's going to be a common theme throughout the show, I think that'll help kind of make it stand out from the other shows, right? Like where it's not so serious. There's like a sense of comedy, and give you like that kind of vibe that we see in like Office and other shows.
I'm thinking they're gonna do that kind of John Byrne, like kind of funny, almost like cheesecakey type of stuff, but maybe not too much on the cheesecakey part, but more on the fourth wall. Just even that first scene where he blows the horn in her ear, she changes and breaks the bed.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
And we're getting some cool like B-list characters too, right? Like Titana is showing up. Wong is gonna. He ain't no B-list for the record.
No,
but Wong's also gonna be in there. Thunderbolt Ross. I couldn't tell some of the other ones, but
and there's that tease of the yellow and red suit Daredevil at the end.
Come on, man! And our boy Charlie Cox making another cameo.
Yeah, these lawyers got to be in there.
You're kind of like Charlie Cox. Look, I'm gonna see you for 18 episodes next year. I mean, you don't got to show up in everything.
It's like I'll be in every show. Tell you what, guys, 18 episodes. I'll be in all the other shows too. I'll show up.
Yeah,
I'm around.
Yeah, that trailer looked good, and that comes out August 17th. So that's a lot sooner than I had given it credit for. So I'm assuming that'll be the next MCU thing we get now that Miss Marvel is finished. It'll be She-Hulk, and then of course that leads me to the trailer that got me most hyped. Man, there's no way that I wasn't going to talk about this Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer. That looks more like a fucking Kendrick Lamar music video than an actual trailer, and I say that with full respect. I mean, hell, I think they even had his song incorporated into the trailer itself, but that it looks so stylistic. It looks beautiful, man. It is a good-looking trailer, and if that's just a fraction of what the movie's going to look like, I'm in for it, man. It looks like a treat for the eyeballs.
That's the one that's like, what are they going to do? I'm just like really curious how they're going to handle the new Black Panther, and even Namor bringing in like the kind of, I guess, introducing indirectly the mutants to the MCU.
I'm sorry. Ashley wanted me to make sure that we put all the respect on King Namor's name in this segment, in this part right here. And Ashley, I got you because she loves Namor, and he looks good. Like the winged feet don't look stupid at all. It looks really fucking cool, actually. To see some wings on, on a grown ass man.
Pretty crazy. They got his outfit pretty close.
Yeah,
he wasn't quite rocking the Speedos, but he had the short shorts on.
What do you think about them taking like incorporating more of like a it looks like, from my understanding, like it's not just Atlantis. They're not leaning in into like being comic book accurate as far as Atlantis and him being half Atlantean and half human. It looks like they're taking some creative liberty where they're incorporating a Mayan aspect to it, where it looks like maybe this sect of Atlanteans were like once Mayans or maybe a part of a Mayan culture, and they just kind of went to the ocean or whatever it may be. It looks like there's some inclusion of like a Mayan or a South American, I'll say, culture aesthetic. What do you think about that?
I kind of dig that. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think it's a fresh way to update the character, and I think if what we're seeing of Marvel playing around with like deities within the MCU, I think it's a cool way to tie in like a different.
And it distances
culture.
himself from Aquaman, like fish people in the sea.
Well,
kind of like gives it a little more. It kind of makes this world that they're building fuller. It's like, oh, magic fish people just showed up. What is so it's. I think they do that to kind of give it more, I guess, more gravity, more. Just like it's just world building. I think it's a cool. I think it's a cool. I didn't even know that. I think it's a cool update on the story.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to say the actor that's playing Namor's name, but I think it's Tenoch Huerta. I believe is how you say his name. This version of Namor's got me excited. It's got me really excited. But Angela Bassett's speech in that fucking trailer, boy.
Yeah, that was good.
Look, I went ahead and just started cleaning up the house. I was like, she had that angry mom voice on deck, and I cannot wait to see. I can't wait to see. It looks like the way I kind of took it, and feel free to jump in, but that was on everyone's mind. Is like, how do they do a Black Panther movie with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, right? Like, I think they confirmed that they weren't going to recast him. They weren't going to have like a fill-in actor or whatnot, which I thought was a smart choice because that was kind of up for debate for a while. Which was kind of sad that was an immediate debate people had as soon as like
they're not going to CGI his face on somebody.
Like I appreciate that they're willing to take that kind of like take it on the chin in the sense of like, well, we're going to have to explain that off screen. But the trailers got me very excited. It looks. I'm confident that that's not going to be. I don't think that's going to be like a big deal or a big negative. I think it looks like they're going to handle that in a tasteful, respectful,
and you have to, because
interesting way.
this isn't like someone just holding out for a contract. This is a real passing of a very talented actor. So they have to handle it with a lot of class.
For sure. And I think that trailer speaks to it in that sense. Warren, what you think about that trailer? I know you got some opinions.
I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, I'm happy, that they're gonna make the movie without him, without recasting him. I think that because of how not only beloved as a character he was, but as beloved as of a person as he was, there's no way they would ever get away from if they did that, people would be so upset. No one would want to see it. Also, I think it would just feel wrong. Even if it made the movie better, it would make the overall story worse. It just wouldn't feel right, But the trailer, I think you nailed it. I mean, it does feel like a Kendrick Lamar video in a lot of ways, in a good way. And so it ticks a lot of boxes for me. I'm definitely excited for that one too. It's just gonna be sad to not see Chadwick in it for sure.
100%. And I'm gonna just do an honorable mention, just so that way all my Marvel critics that say they only focus on Marvel. I will also admit that the Black Adam trailer, this second trailer has got me hyped for this movie. That first one did a good job of getting me energized. But the more I'm seeing of this and seeing, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, on these press tours,
Bro,
and him being very
he's in it.
Yacked. Also, what the hell?
I was complaining that he needs to get bigger to be in this role. He needs to work out a little bit.
Heard you, because my man is just he's sick
bigger
with it,
than
bro.
he's ever been as a wrestler.
Look,
he's ridiculous.
You know that She-Hulk trailer where Hulk asks She-Hulk, he's like, "Who's your best friend?" She's like, I think she's like Christine or something, and he's like, "Spandex. Spandex is your best friend." That's how I feel looking at Dwayne Johnson on these press tours. Dude, you can hear his clothing scream. It's screaming to stay together. He looks great, man, and his excitement too. It feels like this is a big honor for him to be playing this character, to be in the DC universe, and I love that he brings that showmanship and that charisma to this, right? I was watching a clip from San Diego Comic-Con during his Black Adam panel, and he came out like a wrestler. He came out with smoke and lights, to introduce the trailer. I think people were asking him about Superman and Henry Cavill, because a lot of people were expecting the announcement of Henry Cavill coming back as Superman, and people were asking him questions, and he was very respectful, but also shit talking who do you think stronger, Black Adam?
Just bring it, Cavill. Your candy ass.
Yeah. But this trailer for Black Adam looks fucking sharp. Dr. Fate looks cool as hell. Hawkman, really cool. Atom Smasher. I'm yo, DC, continue to do this. Get into these other characters. Explore this world and world build on that.
And even just kind of jumping on that, I like the Shazam trailer. I thought that was a fun.
I was gonna say the same thing. I enjoyed the first Shazam movie a lot.
Me too. That was a big surprise.
See the second one.
Major. That was probably one of the biggest surprises going into that movie, because because when DC was kind of in the doldrums and the Zack Snyder darkness,
the grim dark,
and seeing that movie, that was man, this is what DC needed. They needed a movie like this, like that, and
way
Wonder Woman.
Better than it had to be for sure.
Oh yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of the villain, but I like Zachary Levi, and I like Sylvana. Yeah, it was kind of a way different Sylvana that I'm kind of used to reading in the books, but that's whatever.
Yeah.
But Zachary Levi, and the fact that he has all the Marvel family, more or less, in this movie, and it's going off. I don't think there's any real comic counterparts to the Daughters of Atlas that they're bringing in. So and with fantasy, dragons and stuff, it looks like another fun movie
for sure. And I think that one comes out December, which is I think
this
the last
year.
one also came out December as well, and that was just a fun movie just to during the holiday times. You don't want nothing heavy or dark. You're look, I'm in a good mood. Let me bring in the holidays. And that trailer looked a lot of fun as well. It compared to everything else, I think with it's standing next to Black Adam. It's kind of night and day tonally, right? It's okay, this is an anti-hero.
Pun intended.
Pun absolutely intended, all right? We didn't mention Dwayne Johnson's also Wicked. Very caramel complexion, right? He got the tan going on, looking. But anyway,
I'm just saying, if he gets any more yacked, his head is going to be the size of like a quarter. I mean, he is so big, bro.
He's looking like the buffest piece of caramel, like the little square caramels you used to get from your grandma. He looked like that on steroids. But
every other DC person has got to be like, yo, I can't measure up to this at all. Come on.
Zachary Levi's like, no, for sure, give me the muscle suit. Just
make
model
my
it,
suit
model
bigger.
it, model it
CGI
after
these muscles.
Model it after Dwayne over here. But yeah, it's a night and day. I love that it stands out for just being unapologetically like fun, like even embracing kind of like the corny stuff, right? Like Zachary Levi is.
But it's a perfect contrast to those two characters when they do officially clash.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Good
you
point.
can't get more opposite than Shazam and Black Adam.
Very good point. All right. Well, I think we've covered just about all the I think we've covered a wide range of topics from, things that might have fell underneath people's radar to, of course, the larger announcements and movies. So I think we've covered all the things we wanted to talk about for this segment here. So I think it's a perfect time to move into our next segment where we get our friend Ben Kingsbury from Gotham City Limit Comic Shop to tell us what are the best comic titles coming out next month. Let's get into that. And I should have pulled this up earlier. All right, here we go.
You can either have a mouthful of teeth or a fistful of comics.
Fistful of Comics is the part of the show dedicated to all you Wednesday warriors who loyally frequent your local comic shops every week, as well as newbies looking for a little help and direction on where to spend your fistful of dollars when you're at the comic shop. This segment is brought to you by Ben Kingsbury, owner of Gotham City Limit. Segment is brought to you by Ben Kingsbury, owner of Gotham City Limit, Jacksonville's premier shop for comics, toys, collectibles, and more. And like he does every time we do this, Ben has done, he always does all the hard work of researching and flipping through phone book size previews and picking out comics to put on this list. You'll even get to hear a pitch for each one of these if you need a little more convincing. Without further ado, let's cue up the music and let's see what are the top 3 comics coming out next month right here. All right. First up on Ben's list is Source Point Press. First up on Ben's list is a title coming from Source Point Press. It's called Cold. That's with a K, so it's Kold. You know, anytime that they replace the C with a K in cold, it's going to be something serious. This book is being advertised as a modern-day Ebenezer Scrooge-esque tale. It's written by Michael Patrick Rogers and art by Frederica Manson. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The cover is grotesque as fuck. So let's hear from Ben about this one. Let me pull up his voicemail. All right, here we go.
Cold with a K. They describe this one as a modern-day Ebenezer Scrooge-esque tale of an old cruel man going ice fishing with his trusty companion, his dog. But check out this line. Homer went fishing for forgiveness, but all he caught was hell. This person should write comics. Speaking of redemption, though, did you know Jason Todd's going to be a Green Lantern in a special DC Elseworlds Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Green Lantern #1? And you can get his exclusive first appearance on the cover with artwork done by Tyler Kirkham at the limit right now? What are you waiting for?
I love how Ben manages to squeeze in
He's throwing a
pitch
plug
for his own. Yeah, that's what Ben is, the ultimate salesman. All right, he's the ultimate salesman. But that shouldn't distract you. His awesome new variant cover shouldn't distract you from the fact that Cold issue 1 comes to shops August 24th. All right, let's move on to the next comic on his list. This one comes from DC Comics, and they're putting out a title with another mouthful. It's a mouthful of a comic title. Right, it's called Harley Quinn, the animated series, The Real Sidekicks of New Gotham Special, #1.
Nice.
Just winded saying that, all right? It's going to be a 80-page one-shot comic. It comes to shops August 30th. And Ben seems pretty hype about this one, so I'll let him tell you about this one too, all right?
Arguably, the greatest animated show on TV returns with an all-new one-shot all about those sidekicks. Harley Quinn, the animated series, The Real Sidekicks of New Gotham, special number 1, might be the longest comic title of all time, but as long as there's blood splatter and F-bombs, we'll feel right at home. Speaking of sidekicks, did you know Jason Todd's going to be a Green Lantern in the special Elseworlds Dark Crisis Worlds Without Justice League Green Lantern number 1? And you can get an exclusive cover with his first appearance done by Tyler Kirkham at the limit. Pre-order now.
There's definitely a theme.
All right, yeah, I definitely. All right, Ben. All right, Ben. I'm gonna have to start screening it. All right.
No, this is good. This is how you do it, man. This is the Todd McFarlaneization of Ben right now.
You know what? How have I never noticed that Ben went to the Todd McFarlane School of Sailing? You're right.
Clearly.
You're right. Okay. Well, should we take a wager that he mentions this? This
Jason Todd is the Green Lantern.
Green Lantern in this next one. All right, but real quick, once again, that comic was a Harley Quinn comic. I'm not going to repeat the whole title. You can just rewind it back a little bit. But that comes in the shops August 30th. The last but not least, the third comic on Ben's list of new titles that you should be checking out next month comes from Scout Comics. All right, it's a brand new series called Mr. Easter, number 1. It's written and drawn and covers done by Kit Wallace, who's doing some great work on comics like Good Boy and Little Red Ronin. All right, the cover here gives me like a Daniel Warren Johnson meets John Wick kind of vibe, but yeah, Ben will sell it a lot better than I can. All right, here we go.
Last but not least, we've got Mr. Easton number 1, and no, that is not a Boston accent coming out. It is literally EASTA. 3 reasons this is one of my picks of the week. Number 1, it's set at an Elvis night at an interstellar backwater bar. Number 2, he's got a buddy named Frank who happens to be a teleportation parasite who can transform into any handheld weapon imaginable. And number 3, the artwork looks like it's from a gloriously demented mind. Speaking of gloriously demented minds, did you hear Jason Todd was going to be a Green Lantern? Just kidding. I'm not going to do that to you guys again. I hope you have a great week. And remember, always take it to the limit.
Come on, man. That's our guy, Ben, man. That's Ben Kingsbury for you, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Coming in with the comic recommendations. The comics worthy of your time and your money, all right, for next month, okay? Gents, of those 3 options, we got Cold number 1. We got Harley Quinn, the animated series, Real Sidekicks, and New Gotham special number 1, and Mr. Easter number 1, all coming out tail end of August. Which one piques your interest? Which one is worthy of making it on your pull list? Ed, take that for us.
I'm not sure, but you know Jason Todd's going to be a Green Lantern.
Don't say.
For the long title, the Harley Quinn, the animated series, because the last series was Harley Quinn, the animated series, Eat, Bang, Kill Tour. Mm-hmm. And if it's the same artist, Max Sarin, who's doing it, he's incredible. Perfect fit for that style, animated style. That's probably the one. If it's the same artist, it'll depend. But if Max Sarin is drawing it, I'll pick it up for sure.
Awesome. And I don't think I mentioned. I don't remember Ben mentioning it, but that particular comic, it is a variety of writers that actually worked on that previous special you just mentioned. They're all coming back to work on that. And I'll pull up the artist for you here soon. But Warren, to you, man. Out of all of those pitches and solicitations, which one would you say piqued your interest?
So I want to say Cold because his name is Homer, but I gotta say Easter sounds really cool to me because sign me up for Elvis. Sign me up for a sidekick that can turn into anything. That sounds like a really, really cool story. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my pick too. Mr. Easton number 1. It's got elements of everything I kind of want for all the reasons that you just listed, but also the cover looks pretty badass. I implore anyone that's listening to look up Mr. Easton number 1 cover. And it kind of makes me want to look into more.
Look it up right now.
It makes me want to look into more of what is coming out through Scout Comics. That's what I like about Ben's list. You know, he covers the major players like DC and Marvel, but I love anytime he shows some love to some of these smaller and indie publishers like Scout and Source Point Press that people might not be aware of. So Mr. Easter gets my attention. And that is our list, Shortbox Nation. If any of those pique your interest, go ahead and put them on your pull list or go to your comic shops and have them ordered for you. I want to give a big shout out to Ben once again from Gotham City Limit Comic Shop for putting that list together. And he always does it. He always puts that list together anytime we do these segments. So always appreciate the hard work. And, you know, a lesson on how to sell, all right? You always got to be selling. And remember, even if you don't live in Jax, you can still take it to the limit by visiting their online store, which is linked in this episode's show notes. You don't got to type in nothing and no URL. Just go ahead and click that link and you'll get taken there. But that's also where you can pre-order the new store exclusive cover featuring featuring none other than Red Hood as Green Lantern. You just heard him mention it 3 times. Check it out for yourself because it's pretty badass, right? It's done by the shop's favorite artist on demand, Tyler Kirkham.
Am I to believe that Shortbox is not going to give one of those away? That's not very Shortbox Nation.
Oh my God.
We are absolutely going to give one away because look, we love supporting the shop, but the covers look so good. You just got to spread the wealth, all right? I love spreading Gotham City Limit exclusive shit, to listeners across the states, all right? So a little bit of like Duval love in New York and Galley and Minnesota. Places like that. So we'll do a giveaway here soon. And I also want to give a shout out real quick to the newest employee of Gotham City Limit, right? Jonathan Sanders, who is a good friend of the show. I've worked with him at a comic shop or two myself. He's a local Jack's comic shop legend, if those exist, who's decided to take his limits to the limit. So if you are here in Jack's and you're familiar with Jonathan, make sure you go visit him at Gotham City Limit and say what up, all right?
Give that man a round of applause, Badr, please, for me.
Oh, yeah. For you? All right, I got you, big dog. For Jonathan Sanders, man. For Big John.
Shout out to Jonathan, man.
For sure. All right, listeners, next up, we're going to read some emails sent to us by listeners just like you, I guess, and get you hip to our top entertainment picks for the week. We got some emails to read, all right? We got 2 emails to read. One is from our guy, Blake, all right? Big shout-outs to Blake. A big fan of the show, good friend of the show as well. He sent in an email that I'm going to get to right now, all right? Blake Simone. He writes, his email is titled, "Is email still a thing?" ? And he writes, "Yo, here we are, 27 days after Heroes Con. It was great seeing Badr, Drew, and Ashley. Wild to think that it was 2019. Wild to think last time was 2019. It feels like that was a million years ago. It does feel like a long-ass time when you think about that. I did have more interesting things I wanted to share, but the big reg entertainment machine just nuked my brain." He's talking about MCU and San Diego Comic-Con. "Born Again, ... Take all my subscription money. I got to write in more, read more Rocketeer, and watch the first 2 episodes of Primal Season 2, Bellissimo, Chef's Kiss. Signed, the guy who consigned and spent most of his money 30 minutes into being at Heroes Con on 40 to 50-year-old 2000 AD Progs." Big shout out to Blake. Thank you for that email. Blake, yes, Daredevil Reborn. Looks like I'm going to be renewing my Disney Plus for the next... it might as well just be a permanent bill at this point. I was thinking the other day, like, would there ever be a period where, like, I let that subscription lapse? And it's like, I really can't. Not in, like, the field that I'm in, right? Like, I got to stay up to date with it.
Business Badr, it has every season of The Simpsons. Come on, man. Every season of The Simpsons. Why would you ever... Come on.
That too. And I do want to say, so Blake mentioned doing one of the biggest, he admitted to doing one of the biggest sins you could do at any convention, which is, getting too big-eyed off the bat and spending all your money on the first vendor you see, the first box, which I don't blame him.
I've been there too.
He found a bunch of really awesome and really good priced 2000 AD. He's really into 2000 AD, and there was a vendor there that had a whole bunch of them. But I mean, like, the second he stepped his foot at the convention, he went straight there, and I 40 minutes later he's still there. I'm like, there is
you gotta do a lap.
At least a lap. So don't be like Blake, all right? But Blake admitted it, and he's learning. He's doing better. When you go to convention, do a couple laps, all right? But thanks for writing.
We all make mistakes, Blake. It's okay.
For sure. Thanks for writing in, Blake. All right, let's go to our next email from our guy T-Mix. It wouldn't be an episode of the Short Box if our honorary member T-Mix ain't write in and chime in. And I'll go ahead and announce that T-Mix is also the winner of our mini Thor, he's also the winner of our Mighty Thor miniature giveaway. Nice. Back in our Thor episode 362, we announced a giveaway for one of 20 Mighty Thor miniatures that we went ahead and made in partnership with Triple D Mystic. We just asked that someone write into an email with a Thor prompt. I think it was like, tell us your favorite Thor story or something like that. Regardless, our guy T-Mix won that. So T-Mix, I'll have that in the mail for you here soon. Let's get on to the email, all right? His email is titled, Hail Lord Vecna, Vecna. He writes, "Yo, what up, Shortbox? Don't ask why it took so long, but I finally decided when Volume 2 dropped to finally watch Stranger Things, Badr style, nearly 6 years after it started. I binged through the first 3 seasons in like a week. It's such a phenomenal show. Love crafting elements mixed with some D&D lore topped off with 80s nostalgia. Season finale was metal. Strongly recommend for anyone that still hasn't for some reason watched it. Prompt time. My favorite Thor moment. I'm sad to say that I haven't really read any Thor-centric comics and only see him when reading Avengers. However, last week's Spotlight, I will be reading through Jason Aaron's run. That said, my favorite Thor moment is when he returns to Earth with Asgard after Civil War, the movie, and gets confronted by Tony Stark. Oh, not the movie, the comic. Confronted by Tony Stark. Thor then proceeds to beat the piss out of Tony while chastising him for what he's done, including creating the clone Thor. So good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was an epic moment. One champion for y'all this week, Hustle on Netflix. Really fun basketball movie with Adam Sandler. He plays a longtime scout that's trying to sell a Euro player, Bo Cruz. He found at a pickup game. Lots of fun cameos. Hasta la próxima, mis amigos. Big shout out to
I heard that movie is great. I need to watch. I can't believe I haven't watched it yet. It's been on my list for like a month.
Same, especially with the cameos that are just in the trailer alone. I think you'd fuck with it.
And Sandler can hoop, man. He's a baller, man. You can find clips of him he's handing out dimes, bro. He's good.
That's because Sandler is always in like basketball shorts. Like even at like premieres and big movie stuff, he's always in basketball.
He looks
shorts.
like shit, but he's hooping on him, bro. He's like Magic Johnson out there.
For sure.
Crazy.
For sure. Yeah, and T-Mix, I know you said that you don't read a lot of Thor, but honestly, the one Thor moment that you spotlighted still lives like rent-free for a lot of in the minds of Thor fans across, and I guess Iron Man fans too, because that was a hell of a beatdown he gave Tony Stark. So good email, T-Mix. Thank you so much. That is all the emails we got. If you want to go ahead and send us your thoughts, opinions on, whether it be a champion, something we should check out, maybe, a topic from San Diego Comic-Con that we missed, whatever it may be, man, we'd love to hear from listeners like you. Go ahead and write in. Send us an email, all right, at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com or click the link in the episode show notes. While you do that, I think it's a perfect time to tell you about the best entertainment and pieces of media that we've personally enjoyed this week. You guys know what time it is, right? It's time for Champion Season.
It's time for
Champion Season.
Champion Season. It's the part of the show where we highlight other worthwhile entertainment like movies, TV series, books, video games, and honestly, anything else that we'd personally recommend to our friends. So that includes you, all right? If you're listening, we count you as a friend, all right? So if you've been looking for suggestions on what to read, what to watch, or what to do next, this segment is dedicated to you, so listen up, right? Warren, how about you go ahead and kick us off, man? A guest of honor status. What are you going to champion today?
Man, I got 3 bangers for y'all today, and the first thing I'm gonna champion.
Obviously, you didn't read the rules. Guests can only champion one thing, all right? 3 is taking it to the limit. I mean, it's quite a bit.
Cool. Cool. I'm gonna champion 3 things. So today.
Oh man!
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
So
the first thing I want to champion, and I'll keep them short, is Abrams Books just released an omnibus of Treehouse of Horror comics, all the way from like the beginning of the run into the early 2000s, and they're going to release a second volume. And this is, obviously I don't collect a ton of comics. This is more you guys' area of expertise, but this is one of the best looking books I've ever seen. It's hardbound. It has a cover. It glows in the dark. They put so much extra love and care into like putting these old stories into one place. They didn't just put them in order. They put them together in sections by type of story. So you might have like a story from 96, 99, 2003. And then in the next section, you might have 2001, 90, 94. Like it's really well put together. A lot of love and care went into this book, and it just looks awesome. And I say that to say, if you're a fan of The Simpsons, if you're a fan of my collection, or if you follow me, or if you even know who I am, go follow me, because I'm going to be giving away 2 copies of that omnibus. Abrams shot over a box to me, and they gave me some copies to give away. So if you want to enter to win one of those, definitely Follow me. Keep your eyes peeled for the giveaway. It is a beautiful book. I showed Badr some images of that. It is really, really something special.
Oh, and the first one, I'm not sure what the timeline is because you said there's a second one that's going to be released. Is the Bernie Wrightson, Len Wein story in that, the squish thing?
It is in the first one. I'm pretty sure. It's so cool. I'll send you some images, Ed. It is really great. Mark Hamill and like so many people contributed to those stories that are in this book. It's so rad. It looks.
I've always liked the Treehouse of Horror comics because it's usually like a who's who of people that contribute to it. So it's not just the traditional Simpsons style art. You get all kinds of different art styles. The style gets
really wacky. Some of it's like super realistic looking. It's like very, very bizarre.
Yeah, I'm going to say it again. Bernie Wrightson drew a Simpsons story, Swamp Thing.
It's insane.
The creators of Swamp Thing did a parody of Swamp Thing, and so you need to get it. I even saw like an unused cover. It was like the House of Mystery with the girl combing her hair in the mirror, and then the Swamp Thing's behind her. They even did a parody cover of his own stuff. So,
yeah, you guys want to know why Bill Morrison won that Inkpot Award? It's because he got people like that to come work at Bongo for an issue.
Here, hey, make fun of one of your beloved creations. Can you just do a parody of it?
Please. So definitely check that out. Follow me to enter that giveaway. 2 quick ones. I'm a huge Nathan Fielder fan, and his new show just dropped on HBO, The Rehearsal. It is truly one of the funniest things I've ever seen. They're going to be dropping weekly. It is incredible. Please go watch that. And 2 nights ago, I saw the new Jordan Peele movie, Nope. And I have no problem saying here it is my favorite movie he has made. It is great.
Oh, damn. I've been on the fence about like going to go see that because the trailers look so fucking crazy.
It is one of the most interesting sci-fi stories I've ever seen. It is truly original. Yeah. And I didn't think he could top his other work. I didn't think he could even compete with his other work, and he somehow topped it, in my opinion. And I was blown away by it. I really loved it.
All right. Well, that's the only cosign I need then. Good stuff, Warren.
And so then, in addition to that, I've got 6 more. So what?
Man.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Try me, because my finger is on this mix minus button. And I'm gonna fuck up the whole feedback. All right, good stuff, Warren. All right, Ed, how about you take us away, man? What do you got a champion today?
I'm just gonna do one really quick. I've been kind of obsessed with this movie for the last month or so. It's the 1983, the Shaw Brothers movie, The Boxer's Omen. Hui Chi Hung movie. This is, like I said, if you're a fan of trauma movies, it is what I call trash cinema, midnight movie, pulp stuff. It is the most insane movie I've seen. Like I said, it would take me an hour to explain it. I even was talking to one of my coworkers, and this poor girl, just out of college, engineer. And she actually watched it just because of me talking about it for her. It took me seriously an hour to describe this movie and what happens in it. It is a visual. It is a fever dream, hallucination. It is, I wouldn't call it a martial arts movie just because, there is martial arts in it, but it is a kind of like more of like a horror gross out. Lots of really cool pre-CGI special effects, film effects. Lots of cool set pieces. The story is absolute nonsense and way too much stuff going on, but it's a lot of crazy scenes put together into a movie. So it is a little bit of an endurance trial. But like I said, the movie I think is only an hour, maybe an hour 30 minutes. But if you want to see some just really crazy visuals, puppets, adorable puppets that are supposed to be taken seriously as horrifying monsters. It's so wacky. There's it's everything I like about kind of like a exploitation cinema. This is like the perfect drive-in movie. Like I said, if you are a fan of like the trauma style of movie making, this is like an Asian trauma movie. But it has been like in my head for the last month or so. And like I said, you can find it on YouTube. It's a hard movie to find. Physical copies are very pricey because it's out of print. But I definitely, Shaw Brothers, Boxer's Omen.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it is great. You're gonna be like, I jumped out of my seat like at least a handful of times, like some of the stuff that they do in it. And there's just some really gross stuff.
I'm gonna see if my dad's got this movie, because I mean he's got a pretty wide, like a pretty impressive Shaw Brothers collection. And
he
I don't
might
think
give
I've
you
ever
the
seen
side
this
eye.
he's
Boy,
like,
who told you about that box?
he's like, that's the one we don't. That's the one he's got locked up in, like, you know, the case.
Yeah, but like I said, far as just, you know, practical effects, and we were even talking about it earlier, it's like pre-CGI stuff, really cool effects, really cool set pieces, visually insane. It is a, like I said, it's described as like a hallucination and a fever dream. Love it. It's cool. Everything I like about that kind of film.
Awesome. Good stuff, Ed. All right, I'm actually going to do a repeat champion, only because I've got around to completing the series, and it's still just been on my mind since Friday. And that is Lone Wolf and Cub. All right, that's the only thing I'm going to champion. I know I've championed it, you know, maybe 2 months ago or when I first started reading it, but I finally got through.
It is like about, what, 30 books?
It's 28 volumes of the smaller books, right? And then I think 8 volumes of the Dark Horse omnibuses.
Oh, those.
But I finally got around to finishing it, and it is, without a doubt, like maybe a top 3 comic book I've ever read. Like, it is one of the best things I've ever read in my life. It's, if you are a fan of like samurai shit, if you love historical books centered around like history and stuff like that, if you love like revenge tales or things that like highlight like parenthood and the bond between a father and son.
Can you see how this influenced Miller now?
Bro, when I say I'm sitting there like, I get it. I get how this made Miller. Like, this gave us Frank Miller, right? And then also, like, I see the parallels in The Mandalorian. I see that homage big time. But for anyone unfamiliar, Lone Wolf and Cub is a Japanese manga series first published in 1970 by Kuzo Koike. I believe that's how you say his name, and artist Goseki Kojima. And I say artist, like, I wouldn't even classify him as a comic artist. He is more of like just an artist, period, right? Like, it is more like you were reading like scrolls, like Japanese scrolls done in ink wash and what. It feels like a historical piece of work. It is, man, I finished the last volume this Friday, and, you know, this has been a 2, maybe 3 month journey with this series. And this is one I just kind of took my time with. Like, I wasn't rushing to finish it because the volumes are kind of hard to find. So I had to mix between like reading it physical, if I could find the volumes, and digital. But I finally got around to the last volume. And left that, and closed that last page like just teary eyed like a motherfucker. Like, I think maybe a few tears might have, like, you know, just like just hit that last page. It was amazing. So if you're looking, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, those when they re-released them in those smaller, you know, formats. I remember I was back into comics, so I was getting those. I got all of them.
Oh, nice.
And
those things go for a little bit now.
Yeah, I know. Someone has my one, son of a bitch. I don't know where it's at, but I have all. I was getting those like every like month or so when they were coming out, because they were released in the U.S. under the Epic imprint, which was Marvel's
first comics, right?
Is it first? Yeah, I'm sorry, First Comics. And Miller, the covers that Miller did on those were the covers he did for the. And then Bill Sienkiewicz did a lot of the covers for it. So that's one of the earlier kind of translated Japanese comics that came over to the States.
Yep. Well said.
And that really, like, when artists started saying that really, like, and Frank Miller like just lost his mind because he was getting like the untranslated version. So he's definitely, you can look at that as like a big influence on his work.
I think he had a quote, and I believe I got this from Cartoonist Kayfabe because they did a video on Lone Wolf and Cub. But Frank Miller said, for the longest time, I couldn't read my favorite comic book of all time because there was no translation. But long story short, if you are looking for something new to read, you know, especially like on the manga, if you've just kind of grown a little tired or want a refresher on comics and want to move away from American, and you like manga, check out Lone Wolf and Cub. Like, it's a reason why I think it's considered a classic. Like, it stands the test of time, even to this day. Like, it's powerful. It is powerful stuff.
And what's really cool, if you can get the physical copies, they do have like little glossaries in the back to explain the terms and the weapons and like the historical.
That's awesome.
Things.
I feel
It's
like
really cool.
I feel like by the end of it, I took a entry level college course into Edo era
Feudal
Japan.
Japan,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was epic. So Lone Wolf and Cub is my one and only champion. I'm now going to make the transition to actually watching the movies, the Baby in the Cart series. There's a really good Criterion collection on Amazon that has all 6 covers and a badass cover. I don't know who drew this cover right here. Maybe Ed, you can tell me, but I want that. Like, yo, I want that. So
That's nice.
that is my champion for today. Listeners, I am going to turn the tables on you and ask if you have a killer champion that we should check out. Man, share it with us. Why are you being greedy? Like, share it with us. Let us know what we need to be on, all right? We always tell you what you got to be on. How about you share some of those recommendations with us? Or let us know if you try out any of the recommendations we shared, whether it be our champion picks or maybe one of the comic books that Ben shared. Maybe you end up getting that Red Hood Green Lantern cover, all right? Tell us if you do so, all right? We want to know. We'd love to have you join in on the conversation. Gents, this has been a great recording, a fun time. San Diego Comic-Con obviously has got me very hyped to be in this comic book and nerdy space. I'm glad that, we got to share that excitement with you guys.
No, it's been super fun. Can I chime in real quick with a little update?
Oh,
So I just confirmed that the omnibus is the first of 3 volumes. So there's not only going to be one, there's going to be 3.
Wow.
And in the first one alone, Ed, you got Paul Dini,
wow.
Jerry Duggan, Garth Ennis, Pia Guerra, Mark Hamill, Thomas Lennon, Gail Simone, Jill Thompson, Bernie Wrightson, Rob Zombie, and many, many, many more.
What's Garth Ennis?
So it's definitely worth picking up. Everybody's got to get it.
So if I had to dilute that statement into one very clean statement, it'd be make some room on your bookshelf. Because 3 volumes of
Absolutely.
Omnibus
It's
is
big,
not
it's
saying-
heavy, it's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm ordering that as soon as possible.
All right, Warren. I'm going to ask you for a favor, man. I gave you the privilege of being on the Short Box pod. I mean, come on, man. That's not a privilege. No, granted. I mean, you've had
You're
the privilege,
welcome, Warren. You're welcome.
Granted, you've had the privilege you've been on 2, 3 other times. But I'm going to ask for a favor. Normally, around this time, we're getting close to wrapping up and saying sayonara to our listeners. Ashley normally does a fantastic job of wrapping us up. She'll share a parting word. She'll share a piece of advice or a major takeaway, like a big takeaway that listeners should leave this episode with. Can you help in to step in to those very big shoes and give us some parting words or something to send the listeners off with?
I can, and I'm gonna get a little serious for a second. I'm gonna say, life is hard for everyone, and you never know what someone is dealing with. Don't be an asshole.
Oh,
Well said. Look, that had nothing to do with San Diego
he's looking
Comic-Con,
like right at
but-
you.
Boy, you guys want to hang out after the podcast, talk a little bit about what's going on? No, I like it. Good words to live by.
Indeed.
Awesome. All right. Well, there you have it, Short Box Nation. Thank you for hanging out with us this week. If you enjoyed today's conversation, all we ask is that you do us a small favor, right? Spread the word. Help spread the word to a friend or someone you know that loves comics as much as we do. If you're feeling extra generous, and if you're like, I could do more than that, well, consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It costs you nothing, and it would mean a lot to us. So thank you in advance. Next week, you might be able to finally hear the audio from the other panel I did at Heroes Con with comic legends Charles Vess and David Peterson. If you're a fan of fantasy comics or an aspiring artist and writer who wants to world build with the best of them, you'll love that conversation. That should drop next week. I got to ask our patrons, though, all right? That was a Patreon exclusive, and I got to make sure it's cool with them that I share it with you guys, all right? We'll see how that goes. They're nice people, but, they might want to hold on to that. Now, if you want some extra content from us in the meantime, like an episode dedicated to the Young Justice cartoon series where we analyze how shitty of a father Superman was.
No. Clone, not the father.
All right.
He was a clone. He's not the real dad.
Well, you know what?
What if a clone of you came up here like a
I'd
16-year-old clone?
embrace him like the greatest son he was, man. I love you, boy. Where you been?
No, that's
We'll let the listeners decide. All right, we'll let the listeners decide. You can go ahead and listen to that episode as well as all of the episodes from our spinoff podcast, Pilot's License, and you could vote on future episode topics. You know what? I'll use this time right now. I hadn't planned on this, but Ed, you had selected the candidates for the episode we'll be doing in 2 weeks. It'll be our Image Comics 30th Anniversary Retrospective. You had the great idea of spotlighting one of 4 original comic series that came out from Image in 1992. The choices were Wildcats by Jim Lee, Youngblood by Rob Liefeld, Spawn by Todd McFarlane, and then Savage Dragon by Eric Larson. The poll has ended. Our patrons had went ahead and casted their vote, made their voices heard. I don't think Warren participated in that because he hates us. Don't know why. But Ed, if you had to guess,
I completely forgot. I'm sorry.
All good. Ed, if you had to decide, or I'm sorry, if you had to guess who the victor was and who we'll be talking about in 2 weeks, who do you think won that poll?
I kind of know who won, but it wasn't who I thought. I would have thought like Spawn would have won. Because
Same. I thought that was going to be a landslide victory. I was like, we're going to talk about Spawn. Okay.
But yeah, it's Savage Dragon.
Come on,
by
man.
a lot, right?
I think he won 60% of the votes. I'm going to give a
60%.
round of applause to our boy Savage Dragon and Eric Larson. 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking about Savage Dragon, the first volume of Savage Dragon. So
those are the only 2 like legacy titles still going today, and Eric Larson is still drawing, writing everything.
Oh, man, that's a legend.
Yeah,
that is a legend.
It'll be fun.
So heads up, there you go. I wasn't gonna mention that, but you know what? If you if you are still listening at this point, you deserve it. All right. So in 2 weeks, join the Short Box Book Club. Go ahead and find yourself the first volume of Savage Dragon. That's what we're going to be talking about. So yeah, go ahead and just. And if you want to get involved in future episode topics and pick what we talk about on the show, become a member of our Patreon community. You get to hang out with people like Warren, all right? Like, you get to be counted among the greats like Warren. Now, granted, you probably won't have the same privileges of hopping on the show unless you start your own podcast, but you can still get to be counted among the same awesome people that support the show. Click the link in the show notes to get to our Patreon community, or go to patreon.com/theshortbox to check out all the rewards and perks waiting for you there, all right? In the meantime, follow The Short Box on Instagram and Twitter if you aren't already for more comic-related content. And most importantly, take care of yourselves, all right? Have a great day, and please continue to make mine and yours Short Box. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.